Hi everybody, I am SS the Showstopper and today is the 27th of December 2023. If you hear noises in the background, it's some kids that are playing, so forgive me, okay? Now, today I want to talk about a reality show that's on the Bravo TV network by the name of Married to Medicine and speak about one particular doctor whose name has been going around in the media based on a past video or a live interview that she did with a fellow cast member, Dr. Heavenly, and her name is Dr. Jackie. Now, my message is also for Jamaicans. My message is also for Jamaicans living in the diaspora and also Americans that are watching my channel. Now, we've seen the video. We have seen this.
Women, we want to also make sure you're being serious with your doctor and not playing the game so I can take you off work. Because then we see you 25 times in the pregnancy. It's hard to believe that there's a true problem when there's a true problem. Sometimes as African American women, we're a bit more dramatic, and that you go to the doctor and you complain and you complain and you complain, and you're not taken serious because you cried wolf the entire pregnancy.
That ain't me, boo. I don't know what you're talking about, but go ahead.
I didn't say you. I just said as African American women, we want to also make sure you're being serious with your doctor and not playing the game so I can take you off work.
We have seen that. Now, Dr. Jackie is an American doctor, an African American doctor who is an OBGYN, and so many persons have come out of the woodwork. Some of our former patients, and former patients have come out and they have spoke about their experience with her. She's very insensitive. She wasn't there for them during their time of labor. She wasn't there when they were having complications. She wanted to make light of a very serious matter. She was basically facetious when it comes on to their plight, when they spoke of feeling pain, when they spoke of not being well. And we've seen the interview of her where she was speaking to Dr. Heavenly and saying that black women are making excuses and they're pushing out something fake and false, that they're in pain when they actually isn't, they actually aren't. And they're saying it because they want to take time off, or they want to get time off from work because they simply don't want to go to work. And a lot of persons were saying that our comment is extremely insensitive, especially at the time when the mortality rate for black women is extremely high, to the point wherein we've seen celebrities like Jodie Turner who decided that she wanted to give birth at home because of fear of losing her own unborn. And so for her to make a comment like that, it shows that she is in it just for the business and she doesn't cater for women who are actually pregnant, women who are actually having complications during pregnancy. She's only in it for the business and just to get a footing in the upper echelon society, which is mainly too white, because they're saying that most of her patients are actually not black or African American, and if they are people who are well off. Now let me say this, there are lots of Dr. Jackie that are in Jamaica. I can speak for experience because I'm a mother, and I can speak from my mother's experience. In Jamaica, in Montego Bay in particular, there was a doctor by the name of Dr. Dixon. I'm not afraid to call names because my story is not a lie, it's actually true. My mother had complications with my brother. I remember some 20 plus years ago, my mother had serious complications with my brother and she was going through it. She was in terrible, tremendous pain. And I remember her speaking of Dr. Dixon, the male Dr. Dixon, because it's a family. The male Dr. Dixie was or the late Dr. Dixon. And he was very insensitive towards her after her giving birth, and she went back to him for her review, and she was speaking on the complications that she was still having even after birth. He was very insensitive, saying that she's ungrateful, she sounds ungrateful, she's just complaining and stuff like that. And my mother was in a lot of pain even after giving birth to my brother, and the doctor was very insensitive. He didn't show any form of compassion, he didn't show any form of remorse. It's almost like she was an animal. That's how he was treating her. And even in animal, people know that animals are in pain, people are sensitive towards them. So I don't get it why this doctor, who is a male at that, was so insensitive towards her. It seemed as if that, like I said, they're just in it for the money and to be a part of upper echelon society in all aspects, and that's all they care for. They most likely cater to the negative stereotype that have been pushed out there since slavery about black women being able to withstand tremendous amount of pain and pressure without anesthesia, without all these medications that can, diminish pain. And because of such, they believe that they're going into that force. I don't know who is training them, or who are these dark people that are training them, dark in quote, that are training these people to be extremely insensitive. And that was her experience. I also remember when I was giving birth to my daughter. Well, the doctors were nice, I can say that. But the nurses, I always speak of nurses in Jamaica, are like animals in uniform. They're without remorse, they're without compassion, they're without empathy. And that was my experience, to the point wherein I was in tremendous pain while I was in labor, and I was praying that a particular nurse doesn't come anywhere near me, because I saw with my own two eyes while in labor, because the place is so small that you can hear other patients beside you, and that was how it was. They were beside me, and I could hear them screaming, and the nurse was like, "Don't put your hand on me, don't touch me, don't touch." This is a young girl that was actually in labor, and a woman in labor, I don't need to tell you that she's in pain. They were screaming, they were, because they can't stand the pain. It was just too much. And the nurse was like, "Don't put your hand on me, don't touch me, don't this, don't that." And I'm like, what kind of animal is this? I remember I spoke about my eye injury also, and I went to a particular hospital in Mandeville. I do not remember the name of the doctor, but that was my experience with a doctor. And it was so bad that the pain was so much I could not open this eye, the other eye, because it was dragging. It was almost like it was pulling, the nerve was pulling the other one. And so I couldn't open my eyes at all. And, when they called me in and I went into the doctor, and I was crying because I was in so much pain, to the point where my nose was running and then blood started coming out. And she was like, "Try to open your eyes, try to open your eye. I'm not going to be able to help you if you can't open your eyes," and stuff like that. And even when I spoke, I called my mother and I told her about it. And she was like, "So she doesn't give you an injection, she doesn't give you anything to diminish the pain immediately, so she can actually examine the eye and stuff." And I said, "No, she didn't do anything. She only recommended Cetadine." She didn't even recommend it. She just said, "Buy Cetadine because I guess you can get it over the counter." And that's what I did. I bought the Cetadine, and it gave me somewhat of a relief, but it wasn't permanent. It went on and on and on and on until I end up with something like a pinch nerve, or I think it is, in my right side that goes straight over behind my ears, or it's what they call occipital neuralgia. And it's excruciating. I spend hundreds of thousands at physiotherapy, going to massage just to get the pain out, and it's just not going anywhere, and to this day, I'm still on painkillers because of it. So that has been my experience. There have been several Dr. Jackie, and that's my experience, not with a nurse, with a doctor that's at Mandeville Hospital. I remember also I had an accident where I fell over a wall, and I was admitted into the hospital at Cornwall Regional. And the nurses there, first and foremost, they took some 3 hours, like there were deep lacerations in 2 places on my foot, my right foot. It was a wound that was basically 2 wounds chopped wide open. You could almost see my bone. That's how deep it was. And I was there, and I was screaming in pain on the hospital, and nobody came. Nobody came to look at me. Nobody cared. Nobody. That's how they are. They didn't care. They didn't look at me. Nobody at all. It's some 3 hours later, because I said that I want to leave. I want to go to a private hospital, because there's a private hospital here. And they say, the security advised me and said, "No, because if you go to the private hospital, they're most likely going to admit you back here to the public hospital." And so I had to sit there screaming the entire night in pain until finally a nurse came. And the nurse, when they came and they examined it, there was a doctor that was there, and he was saying that he's not going to be able to stitch it up because how deep the wound is and stuff like that. And then he told the nurse to dress it and stuff. And when the nurse was dressing it, the nurse showed me the animal in her, the beast in her. She was cleaning it with nothing. I started urinating on myself. That's how painful it really was. I couldn't stand it. My sister-in-law, who is a nurse, was standing there and she was looking at the nurse like, you see that she's in a lot of pain, right? Why are you like this? And, you know, she didn't say anything. She was just cleaning the wound, the raw, open wound, just like that. No care, no remorse. And I was just screaming. And it was just too much. And it took me to do the x-ray to find out if any bone was broken and stuff like that. And I'm talking about something that happened after 11. And I had to wait until around 3 when the doctor came in to examine me after the nurse. And so the nurse came. The doctor came, and when the doctor came, he examined it, and I guess he prescribed some antibiotic. You know, I had to be treating it because I had to come the following day. I had to return the following day for them to try to stitch it. The doctor, I can say, was nice at that time. See, I'm not telling a lie, because when they're nice, I actually are. So the doctor was nice who examined it and was treating it, and they said I had to come back the following day, because it's like I had to go back each day to get, and I said, I'm not coming back here. I paid my money and I go to a private doctor almost every day to get it dressed. It was infected and they had to dress it. My private doctor gave me an injection to deaden it, and then he dressed it. And even when deadening it, because you have to inject in the wound, and so it was still painful, and you know, it was hell for me. And I remember when I also had COVID, and I was there at the hospital. The nurses, again, I'm back at it with the beast. They cared zero for the patients. Yeah, they were doing their job. They were moving around, but they were doing their job as if they were in a butcher or a meat shop. It's not human beings that they were dealing with. They didn't show any compassion. They didn't show any remorse for these people who can't breathe. I was sitting right at the door. So as soon as you come around the corner, you see me sitting there in a wheelchair. I was coughing. I couldn't breathe. There was a doctor that gave me an injection, and I passed out after that. And I wake up feeling like there's knives and splinters in my stomach because I couldn't breathe. And then, you know, the nurses were there and they didn't care. It was like absolutely nothing. It's like a bunch of soulless, empty people. And so, like I said, there are lots of Dr. Jackie in Jamaica. They aren't necessarily doctors. A lot of them are doctors. But most of them are nurses. And they're very incompassionate. They don't have any form of empathy. So what Dr. Jackie is saying, it's not new. I'm glad she got exposed. I hope that Bravo remove her forever and not for 2-3 seasons and then she's back. It's not funny. If it was a white doctor that was saying these kind of things about the patients, they would have removed them. They would have fired them immediately. But it seems as if the plight of black women are of zero significance to the world. And because of such, when it's an internal problem concerning someone who is of an esteem or higher position of power or career path, it's like, let me give them a slap on the wrist because it's going to look bad, or it's going to seem as if the media or the network is targeting a black person. So let me give them a slap on the wrist. No, the black community is calling for the removal of this woman. She doesn't belong in the medical field. It's for people that have some sort of human decency, and she obviously lacks it. People are saying that maybe it's because she's not a mother and she's jealous of the fact that there are women out there who can actually give birth and she can't, so she's using it. I don't think that's also the case. I think there are people out there who naturally just don't have any form of compassion, and because they're not going to see your situation, and even if they do, they don't have compassion for people who look like them. There are people who hate people who look like them. They have a strong hatred for people. They have that Hitler Napoleon sickness, wherein I've spoke about it several times. You know, that Hitler, somewhat of a Jewish person based on history or based on historical information, hate other Jewish people. Or he wanted the ideal man to be tall, slender, blonde hair, blue-eyed, while this guy wasn't 5'9", with brown hair, thick mustache. You understand? Napoleon was a short guy and he wanted to exterminate short men. So that's what we call the Hitler-Napoleon sickness. So Dr. Jackie seemed to have that. She is a dark African-American woman who, she is welcome, or she gains her notoriety from the support or the back of black women. But at the end of the day, she really doesn't cater or like other black women. And it's evident in the things that she says, the insensitive things. You see what happens? Karma came real quick, didn't it? Of how you guys dealt with Quad on the show. No, we're not saying that Quad is perfect. We aren't. but she has a greater clapback than you guys, and you can't hold it. And because you can't hold it, then you are coming together unanimously to make a decision as if you guys are producers that she should leave and you don't want her here. How dare you? I think it's Dr. Simone. How dare you? Who the hell you think you are? If you guys are in bed with your producers and stuff like that, or you're cahootsing with them to get people off the show, then you should just stay there and just have the ratings drop significantly until the show gets cancelled, because nobody wants to see you. Nobody wants to see your boring middle-aged ass that's saying absolutely nothing other than what your privileged sons really don't even care for. Nobody wants you. The storyline is boring. Dr. Jackie doesn't even have a storyline. It doesn't even have a storyline. Quad was the one even with the drama or something. She made sense on the show. We can safely say that. But you know, it's what happens when you have a bunch of women who just hate each other and they pretend as if they do, and eventually the real them must begin to unravel. And that was just what took place on the show. And I'm just so glad that Dr. Jackie eventually got exposed for what she really is. People need to understand, and I always say I'm not loyal to skin color. I'm loyal to a person that's there for me when I'm in trouble or there for me when I am sick. Those are the persons that you are loyal to. You understand me? You're not loyal to skin color, because the person who very well want to see your demise can be someone who looks exactly like you. So you don't drop your guard on anybody for that matter and say, oh, that person looks like me, so they must cater for me. I've seen several African Americans vying for doctors who are black. They want to, because of the mortality rate, they prefer to go to doctors who are black. But you can't, because you have to look at professionalism over skin color. Skin color doesn't necessarily mean the person is more professional or the person will take care of you more. You are going with that blind theory, and when you go with that blind theory, you end up with a harsh reality that end up costing you your life, because it's too late. So I'm glad she got exposed. I'm glad that Dr. Jackie got exposed and they're showing who she really is. The network need to remove her for good. This is not a woman that deserves to be. That's a dangerous woman. That's a very dangerous woman that's in the field of medicine. And she sits so innocently because they think they can use psychology on the public and say, oh, I'm so sorry. And then when she was confronted by it, she actually wanted to gaslight people, saying that if you don't this and that, and I mean, excuse you, miss. Excuse you. You said something and people heard you. And it is what it is. It is what it is. Goodbye. You are not needed. You are not needed. And then you're sitting with the vice president and talking about they should come together because of black women and this and that and to help. How dare you? How dare you? So you're using the name of black women when it's convenient for you. But you're only in this business to make money and to sail off into the sunset, living a lavish life. But you don't care or cater for any woman who happens to be melanated when they're pregnant, because according to you, they should not complain. Or their pregnancy is good and great and there's nothing wrong with them. They should be able to withstand any form of complications without coming to see you until they're ready to give birth. How dare you? Thanks to whosoever that uploaded. I think it's Lakeisha, a vlogger by the name of Lakeisha, who uploaded and spoke about her experience in particular with her. Thank her so much for coming forward. Thank you so much for coming forward with your story, and for all the patients who are speaking out on their experience with her. It's great that they do. And it's the same thing that's taking place in Jamaica. It's absolutely no different. We have seen several stories, several reports over the years where patients were ill-treated. Women in particular in labor were ill-treated because of what? Negligence, or because of lack of compassion by doctors, by nurses, by people in the medical field. And when these things happen and it claim the lives of people, these doctors don't care. They are way worse than a Dr. Jackie. They simply don't care. They have this entitlement. Like, who are you to even question me? Your family member die, your mother die, your wife die, your baby mother die, your sister die. Who the hell are you to question me? That's the behavior that they walk around with. You are in no position to question my authority. And I think there's something where they can't be held liable unless it's a definite malpractice. So, for example, there was an intention to commit murder, and that's very difficult to prove, because you're not around the doctor all the time to prove that there was an intention to commit murder. They aren't held liable in Jamaica. And I'm telling you, that's what it's like. If there are other Caribbean islands out there who have experienced the same thing at their hospital with their medical persons out there, they need to come forward, because this is a serious matter. This is a very grave matter that's taking place in the Black community all around the world. And I'm so glad it came to the forefront. That's all I got to say about it. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your day, and may God bless you. Bye-bye.